awesome having you on our Sunday school lesson for the lesson titled Joseph Part 3. So get your lesson. And yes, I know that this is the last lesson that was in your pack. So next week you're going to be receiving a new pack with a different set of lessons. So this lesson is called Joseph 3. But before we talk about Joseph and what happened to him, because we've been talking about the story of Joseph since 2 Sundays ago. So let's talk about two words first. The first word that I want to talk about, it's the word kindness. Do you know what kindness means? In a way, kindness is like saying goodness, being good to other people. And I have two images to show you. The first one is this one. What do you think is happening here? I think a girl is sharing her lunch with another girl at school. That's good of her, right? That's kind of her. Have you ever shared a lunch? Have you ever shared something at school? That is kind. Every single time you do that, you're being a kind person. The next one is this one. Apparently, this little girl here fell. But then this other person is helping her get up. Have a friend fallen in front of you and you run to his help or to her help? When you do that, you are being kind. These are two examples of how you could be kind to other people. Having talked about the word kind, I want to talk about another word. But for that, I have to give you a little story. I have to start this story. So, there was, and this is the word, famine all through the land. Do you know what famine is? Well, famine is when a lot of people cannot get food for a long period of time. During that time, people can die from hunger. Have you ever had a lot of hunger? If you are hungry, what would you do? You would go to the fridge. You would ask mom or dad or someone, an adult, to give you something to eat. If you open the fridge, I bet that most of the time you're going to find something. A fruit, a vegetable, a yogurt. Your mom can fix you up a sandwich, or you can eat supper, lunch, or breakfast. Well, or some snack. Well, the thing is that during famine, people cannot do that. It's very difficult to do that because there's nothing around. Because there was famine throughout the land because in this case, it had not rained for months. So, if there is no rain, the rivers dry out. If the rivers go dry, then that means that animals like cows, sheep, goats, they cannot drink water. And if they cannot drink water, and let's mention that the cows, the sheep, and the goats, animals like that, they provide milk, they provide meat so we can feed. And if they cannot drink water, they die. and they die because of hunger and because of thirst. Without water, the crops die. And that means no wheat, therefore no bread, and many other good stuff. We would be missing all those things. And that was the situation where where Joseph's brothers lived in Canaan and all around the land. This situation was very, very difficult, as you can imagine. And Joseph's family were going hungry. Really, 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 really hungry. And you need to understand that this was years after what happened last Sunday. When just Joseph's brothers sold him to this merchant that was going to Egypt and sold him as a slave. Do you remember the story? Do you remember that Joseph was sold to this merchant and he went to Egypt and he got sold there at Egypt as a slave, but then he got in jail, and because he helped Pharaoh with his dreams, Pharaoh put him in a very, very important position, second in command. Do you remember that? Well, after that, many years passed, and this is what was going on after many years. There was hunger, and his family back in Canaan, which is kind of far away from Egypt, were hungry. But let's read the story, and then let's talk a little bit more about it. The story is called Famine and Family. Do you notice that both start with the letter F? A famine had spread far and wide. Tummies rumbled from inside. There was no fruit, there was no meat. Families had no bread to eat. But Jacob heard that Egypt's king had kept great stores of just that thing. So that's where Jacob sent his sons to buy some grain for bread and buns. See the map? You have a copy of this. See the map? He's showing the map. You need to go there. They didn't know the guy they'd see would be their brother, alive and free. Joseph knew them right away, but they didn't give a shout. Hooray! His brothers knelt and bowed them low, like in a dream from long ago. Do you remember the dream? Though their trick left Joe alone, seeing them now, he thought of home. Those were his brothers. I'm your lost brother. It is true. Is Dad alive? Please, bring him too. The brothers were amazed and shocked. They zipped right back to Jacob's flocks. They told their dad the awesome news. He barely stopped to put on shoes. Can you imagine after so many years finding his son? And back to Egypt land they raced, where long lost son and dad embraced. Pharaoh's gifts of land and home meant Jacob's family found shalom. Do you know what that word means? We're going to talk about that word later. And that's the end of this story. So let's review a little bit about the story. After Joseph deciphered the dreams that Pharaoh was having, Joseph was working for Pharaoh in Egypt. He had a lot of power. And do you remember what he was explaining to Pharaoh about his dreams? Remember about the fat cow and the healthy wheat strand, and then the ugly, skinny cow that looked like a zombie cow, and the skinny, ugly, dead like wheat? Well, remember that he said, well, you're going to have 7 years of a lot of food. So, and then 7 years of no food at all. So you should save food during these 7 years of a lot of food. So that's what he was doing while he was working with Pharaoh. Those 7 years of a lot of food came, and he started organizing Egypt and into saving food so they can have food when those other 7 years would come. And that's what happened. Everyone around was going hungry because they didn't have food. They didn't prepare like Egypt, but the Egyptians had food. So he was controlling and administering all that when Jacob, his dad, knew that Egypt had reserves of food, and he sent his sons to Egypt to get food because they were going hungry. So he goes and sends his sons over there, and obviously they have to face Joseph. They didn't know that Joseph was there. They thought Joseph was dead. And when they saw Joseph, they knew him immediately. And can you imagine the things that went through Joseph's head, especially after seeing the video? You know that he started remembering all the bad things his brothers had done to him, all the suffering, the time in jail because he was sold as a slave, all the problems he found after he was sold. It was because his brothers sold him to this merchant guy. And Joseph had the power to give them food or decide not to give them food, or to decide not to give them food. If you had that choice, what would you do? How should he should treat his family? Well, we know because of the story that he decided to be kind to his brothers, just like the same goodness. He decided to be good to his brothers and to his dad. The same goodness that we saw on these images, this person sharing food. Actually, that's what he did. He shared the food that Egypt had with his family and helping this little girl stand up. And then he introduced his brothers to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh gave them a lot of food, and they brought back Joseph's dad, and they thought that Joseph was gonna punish them or was gonna kill them. But what happened? Do you remember? Joseph forgave them. Joseph was kind, and he shared his food. But not only that, he forgave his brothers that were they felt so guilty. But then the story ends with this word. It says, Pharaoh's gifts of land and home meant Jacob's family found shalom. Shalom is a Hebrew word. Hebrew is the language that they spoke. And that word means peace. because it meant peace for them, because they didn't have to worry about the food that they were going to eat. They had food, so they had peace in knowing that they weren't going to die of hunger. But not only that, the word shalom is used in between Jewish people to say hello. So if I say shalom, I mean hello. And also to say goodbye. Shalom, it's goodbye. And that is in the Hebrew language. But it's okay, hello and goodbye. I am going to teach you how to say hello and goodbye in the language that I speak at home with my kids. That is Spanish. So, hello in Spanish means hola. Say it with me. Hola. That's right. And goodbye is adios. A little bit more difficult. Say it with me. Adios. So that's the word for goodbye in Spanish, adios. And hola, it's the word for hello in Spanish. Now it's time for some crafts. So the craft for today, you're going to need your parents and someone to help you because it's a little bit complicated. It might be a little complicated for some of you. Okay? So this is a square and it's called, Toss and Tell Joseph. So through this cube, if you toss it, after you do it, whatever side, falls on top, it's a story that you're going to remember, part of the story that you're going to remember, and you're going to be retelling it to your friends playing this game. So the first thing that you're going to do, you're going to have this in your pack. You open it. And the first thing that we're going to do, you're going to color all these little squares because, it's fun to color. So you're going to color all these scenes if you want to. And then after you color, with the scissors, you are going to cut through, through these two blue lines. Like this. And you know that Pastor, it's kind of slow cutting, but you be careful while you cut, okay? We don't want you to have an accident, especially if you're the one doing the cutting and not your parents, right? So you cut. Cutting, cutting, cutting. Cutting. Pastor is still cutting. Okay, now you have these two strips of paper, right? This one as well. Two, we get rid of this one. What we're gonna do is that we are gonna follow these lines, these lines and these dotted lines, and we're gonna fold each one of these. So the dotted lines side is gonna be facing outside, facing out, like this. These are the dotted lines, so you're gonna fold like this. See? They are outside. And then you're gonna fold here. And you're gonna fold like this. So the dotted lines are outside. The same thing you're gonna do with this other strand. We fold, and we fold. After that, you're gonna need a piece of, you're gonna need tape, clear tape, or whatever tape you have. And Pastor didn't get her tape. But voila. So we are going to, and this is going to be a little tricky, so get your parents to help you. I did this. This was the easiest for me. Like, you see how it's shaped as a diamond. So I am going to do this. Like this, and then fold it like this. And I'm gonna do like 3, just like that. And the same we're gonna do with that other one, that other strand. So where is it? Okay, like this. Piece of tape here. Here, fold it. And then do another one. The same with the other one. After we do that, see, you have a square. After we do this, let me do it just quick. There you go, this one. So you're gonna need a little bit of help from mom or dad in doing this, especially the tape part, because you want it to be good enough square. We're not aiming for perfection here. Okay, so now you have 2 squares. See? Now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna put this square inside this square. Okay, let's get rid of this. And supposed to be something like this. There you go. So, because this is not sturdy enough, I encourage you to use a little bit more tape and just try to secure it a little bit on the other sides, the sides that do not have tape, like this, and put the tape here, right? Let's try to do it in this other side, like this. Put the tape here, and then tape here. And don't worry if it's not perfect. We're not perfect either, and God loves us, right? And we can serve God, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Try to do that on all the sides so you can make sure that when you toss it, it doesn't break or separate. So this is going to be something like this, and I'm going to do an example. Let's see if it works. Okay, so you have a bunch of friends, your brothers, your sisters, and this is the game. Okay, you throw it, and this side came on top. This side. Do you remember, once you read the story with me, do you remember what scene is this? If you don't, I'm going to tell you. This scene is about when Pharaoh met Joseph's brothers, and he gave them all the goodies that that they needed. So this is part of the story. And then if I do it again, again the same side. So okay, let's okay, this one. The map. Do you remember this part of the story? Yeah, Jacob's dad gave his sons a map so they could go to Egypt and find food because they were going hungry. So this is how the game goes. So play with your siblings. Play with your cousins. Play with mom and dad, or mom or dad, or grandma, whoever visits you. And that is the end of our story. Let's try to be kind like Joseph was with his brothers. Let's close with a prayer. Dear God, families have fun times and hard times. Thank you for loving us and being with us through them all. Amen. Shalom. Adios. Goodbye. Adios.